Speaking of shows that probably need a break, let's talk about Doctor Who a little bit. So, I mean, I learned things from the latest episode. I learned about history. So I learned that Isaac Newton looks like this. I don't know, man. That's not what I expected. Let's see if I can bring it forward a little bit.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I thought they were doing some kind of alt history thing, but then they're not. There's just nothing.
No, it's just thrown in at the beginning, apparently. So
no, we just live in an unmoored relativism now, where an 11th century Danish Viking is black. Queen Anne Boleyn is also black. Achilles is black.
Yeah.
And Isaac Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, is also now sort of diverse as well. So it's just an unmoored, weird, crazy relativism that we live in.
I can't remember. I think it was the BBC chief who talked about this once in an interview, and he said, like, if we represent people, or should I say misrepresent them historically, when we're doing our historical dramas and stuff, and we race swap people, we are doing a good thing because we're showing history as we wish it was, rather than how it actually was, because how it actually was colonial and racist and stuff. And we're going to fix it. And I
don't know if that was Piers Wenger or Stephen Moffat who said that.
Yeah,
it was one of the two.
I think it was Piers for some reason.
Yeah, Piers Wenger. Dude,
somebody in the chat just said it was Moffat. So
yeah, it was one of the two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was one of the two. Well, and that's after because this crap started with Capaldi's run. Like anybody who'd watched it, he did a great job. But season 10, especially, that preceded the first female Doctor played by Jodie Whittaker, was freaking terrible. But go on.
It's the sanctimony of it. Like there are approximately, according to statistics, about somewhere like 40,000 working actors in Britain. So you'd have about 8,000 would be in the white male 20 to 40 category. And apparently none of those 8,000 white males in that category were good enough to get the role ahead of this guy. And I also think it's going to be weird if you are like a diverse kid and you see the show and you think, wow, Sir Isaac Newton black. And then 5 years later, you're in your physics or mathematics class in school and you open the textbook. What? He's actually white? Like it's actually going to be discouraging later on. So it's kind of weird to me.
I do like this comment as well. History doesn't change because of your wishes. If you misrepresent history, then you can't learn
from it.
I mean, I don't even know what this fills in terms of any argument I've been familiar with. You know, the ones where it's like we want to present certain characters with certain different race swaps or gender swaps so that we can encourage children to think that there's no limits to who they can become. It's like I don't even know how many kids would even know who this is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like
I think it ties into the the whole like Cleopatra was black idea of I don't know if their thinking behind it is like, well, we're just going to pretend that that all these different races and ethnicities of people had a massive impact on the development of Western culture because then it makes everyone feel better about themselves, and it's a tremendously patronizing view of history. Absolutely, that like only Western culture matters in terms of the development of the world. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on in a whole bunch of different places, a bunch of different continents that was really significant to human history. Why do you think that like Western history is the most important thing that you've got to focus on? Like give every culture their due credit here, rather than saying, oh no, like nothing was going on in Africa that was significant. What we'll do is we'll just pretend that like all these different like people in European history were actually black, and that solves the problem. No, it doesn't. It just creates a new one.
And one of the things that was also really weird was they kind of implied that they changed the history because they said the word mavity, I believe it was.
Yeah, gravity changed to the
gravity to mavity. So it's like they were not even. This wasn't even like the real Isaac Newton. Then it was weird. It's like some weird offshoot, alternate timeline where gravity isn't called that. So.
I do know, though, that apparently Sir Isaac Newton was really hot, according to the Doctor.
Yeah.
Was it me, or was Isaac Newton hot?
He was, wasn't he? He was so hot. Oh,
And then he says, "Is this me now?"
Yeah, I don't know why I stopped there actually.
Well, it was never that far from the surface, mate.
Yeah. Okay, great. Again, another great thing that Russell just
Which
felt
does-
like he had to throw in there. Why? Don't know.
Which makes even less sense when you you remember that this version of the Doctor was the one who had like the original Rose and all of that going on. So it's like, yes, it was pretty far from the surface that he was gay. He wasn't. They had a whole storyline where he wasn't. So
It's a tricky one in this case because the way they deal with this in universe is that this is now a separate incarnation of the Doctor from the 10th one. So although he's got the same face, he's technically a different personality beneath the surface, even though he talks and acts exactly like the 10th Doctor. So I'm not sure how to interpret it really. Maybe Gary can help.
Well, this is the Doctor is 2,000 years old. He's grandpa. Not sure how that changes, but I think the only argument you can make is he's so freaking old. He'd be probably pansexual like Jack, but the Doctor's asexual. That's the way I've always seen it. Even with the romance with Rose, he knew that was a really bad idea. There was a lesson learned from that. And that's why the Metacrisis Doctor is here. Now, is this the Metacrisis Doctor? I don't even care at this point. I'm not really sure. But it makes it clear what Russell T. Davies came back for. When he said he had more to say, he had more to say. And it's a lot more in lines of the agenda, which is the worst strategy to go towards with these are supposed to be 60th anniversary specials. We're supposed to be celebrating Doctor Who. Neither of these specials have done that. At most, if you take out all the agenda, they'd be mid episodes for the middle of a season. But ultimately, they're like, even this episode, which was better than the last, is still not that great. I'm not going to remember it. And it's a waste of David Tennant, who is back in all this stuff too. But they're setting up the next Doctor because it's come out that they're going to be completely reinventing the Doctor while keeping the timeless children. Now, we haven't got to that part yet, but that's the worst part in this episode. Like beyond, yes, I got the text from, I got the DM from Mahler because I hadn't even seen the episode yet, Mahler. And Mahler's also Isaac Newton isn't white anymore. And I'm all, what the hell are you talking about?
you didn't even know I was talking about Doctor Who.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? And he goes, oh, you haven't seen, you haven't watched Doctor Who yet? No, nope. I was at the con, so I watched it. I stopped everything and watched it. And God, it was, it's the timeless children I have an issue with. And it will always have an issue with.
The way the episode does it is the Catherine Tate like brings it up as the other version of her, right? The spooky version. And it's like the camera like tightens on Tennant being like shocked, like, holy shit, how are you referencing that? And I felt the exact same thing, but for different reasons. It's like, no, why would you say that? You just made it definitely canon. Why would you do that? You could have at least ignored it, could have at least not talked about it at all. But no, instead you were like, you're not even from Gallifrey, are you? It's like, oh.
Now, Russell T. Davies has come off as bitter. Like, really, his writing is bitter. Cementing the timeless children was him backing his bud and his friend and basically giving the finger to the majority of fans who hate that storyline. Absolutely hate it. Hate everything about it because it disrespects William Hartnell. It disrespects the entire legacy of Doctor Who. And they're like, tough. You're just going to have to deal with it. And no, actually, we don't. We don't have to deal with it. Once I'm done on Saturday, I'm done. I don't care. This thing can languish. It's got Disney money, and it'll probably go on for a couple of years. But any chance they wanted to bring in, they not only wanted to bring back old fans, they wanted to bring in new ones. And that ship it never even sailed. Like it never even got out of port.
I always loved Doctor Who growing up. And the key thing for me about the Doctor is that he's meant to be enigmatic.
Yep.
Ancient. So relationships have a different meaning for him, if any kind of meaning at all. And so the likes of Tom Baker, they could be eccentric, but they never lost their poise. Whereas this current Doctor, he's eccentric and lightweight and histrionic and hyper all the time. So he doesn't have that aura that the Doctor's supposed to have. That first episode of these three shows was one of the worst things I've ever watched. I wrote down all the things that happened in the first 10 minutes. Rose dead naming, elaborate chat about Rose and how to say if she's beautiful or not. A wheelchair-bound woman who has weapons in her wheelchair. Major Singh in a turban. You're assuming he has a pronoun. And then the lines, they say, one doctor says, we're binary, the other says, but she's not. And then they say together, because the doctors are male and female. And then Rose says, and I'm neither, I'm all. With the context being that non-binary transgenderism acts as a means of restoring and protecting the balance of the universe. So that's where we're at.
Yep. That pretty much sums it up. And it was worse than any Jodie episode. It really was.
Oof. That is a low bar.
Very low bar. But they managed it.
Well.
Oh, and they and they undid the Dr. Donna for this allegory, for this message. They undid one of their best storylines.
It's pretty much the only thing I really remember from when I watched, because I stopped watching about halfway through Peter Capaldi, and a lot of the storylines around that led up to it, even like through Matt Smith, I kind of forgot a lot of them. And I guess I was I would probably be the target market, like a relatively casual person, watched Doctor Who for a while, and they trying to draw me back in. I was like, yeah, this is not doing it for me. Not at all. I only watched the episodes because Drinker asked me to, basically.
Yeah, and I kind of regret making you do that, actually, because I inflicted suffering on another human being.
The second one wasn't the worst thing I've ever watched. It didn't really do anything special either. It was just kind of like, it had some things that harkened back to some things that I remembered from David Tennant's era. I think the episode, it was called like Midnight or something, where he was like stuck in like a tram car. It's kind of similar
to Doctor Who.
One of the best shows.
Yeah. And it had some of the elements of that, but it definitely just the awkward, like they're definitely not used to acting with each other anymore. So there's an awkwardness between the two of them they just can't get rid of. They almost seem like they don't really want to be there. And like they probably don't. They probably just took the payday. It just, if their goal is to get back old fans and bring in new fans, this is not the way it's going to work, I don't think.
Well, it certainly hasn't been a hit in the ratings, because I was just looking at the ratings for the overnights. So this episode, Wild Blue Yonder, got an overnight rating of 4.83 million. So, okay. The Star Beast, which was the previous one, that got 5.08. So it's a drop of what? 250,000. They've lost 250,000 viewers already. And this is down from its peak. Like, I'm sure Doctor Who was pulling in like 10 million, if not more.
I was going to say, what, like, contextually, what is this like compared to what they
comparatively? It's up a little bit from the Jodie era, which is a failure in itself, and it's right around because they have the extended ratings, the overnights, and then they have they accumulate what comes from the iPlayer, which, by the way, a viewing on the iPlayer is 1 minute. If you watch 1 minute of the show, they count that as a view.
Just for context as well, like the highest viewed Doctor Who episode was the Christmas 2007 one called Voyage of the Damned.
Voyage of the Damned.
13.3 million.
That's insane.
Okay. So you're talking about
like
you're
3 times what we got for this one.
I was going to say, you're talking about less than a third of what their target would be.
Yeah, that's how far the show has fallen.
In a country of how many people are in your country? 66 million?
About 70 million, I think.
70 million? Documented?
Somebody just asked why I'm green. It's but the sun has gone down and my lighting is not so good anymore. I'm sorry, guys.
You got angry.
Here we
You're going to start twerking.
There we go. Now it's dark. That's the dark hour now. So we'll just go with this. We're going forward.
So yeah, it's down. I mean, like David Tennant was going to boost it up. This thing, has gotten tons of promo. But if it's this bad with David Tennant, I can't imagine what it's going to be like with Ncuti Gatwa. And I don't even think I want to find out. There's a Christmas special. So we get the last one this day after tomorrow. And then there's a Christmas special that's on Christmas. So I wonder if they'll acknowledge the word Christmas, because they moved away from that because they wanted to do New Year's special. They gave us a BS answer, but they didn't want to be on a specific religious holiday. Well, a specific Christian religious holiday, because they're the BBC.